Alright, it seems just a matter of hours ago that I was sitting in this very seat, in this very room, discussing yet another Celtic defeat, our 5th defeat in our last 14 matches. Yes, you heard that correctly. Anyway, I'm back to do it a little bit more. We're going to use your help a little bit, go through some of the comments. Clearly, a lot of you feeling strongly about yesterday's match. I think the video went up I've lost all track of time. But I think the video went up, say, 12 hours ago, and there's 200 comments already. So a lot of feelings. We're going to get through some of those comments as well. Also going to speak about what Brendan Rodgers had to say at McDiarmid Park after the match, because there's some very interesting stuff there. Very critical of the team following the game. Me and Stevie did do the reaction. Stevie joining me from heaven, obviously, after full time yesterday. It did go up about 4 p.m. UK time, so you may have missed it. It's linked above anyway. It wasn't a particularly happy video. We all know the situation Celtic are in. This is meant to be a really positive time of the season when we're going to hopefully clinch the league in the coming weeks, and ideally a treble as well. The weather's getting better for you lot in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's generally meant to be a good time, a positive time to enjoy Celtic, kind of the rewards for the season. But it all just feels a little bit flat. And it's, I guess it's difficult to know exactly why that is. We have some thoughts though, and you certainly have some thoughts. Let's just start with the league situation, the Premiership table. And despite our loss, we're actually closer to winning the league today than we were on Friday. We're 2 wins away from the title, everyone. We could still win the league this weekend. For that to happen, we need to beat Kilmarnock on Saturday, and then Rangers need to lose at Aberdeen the following day. Failing that, we will roll over into match day 34, the first one after the split, which I think is 3 weeks from today, so it's a fair old wait to actually get this clinched. But even if we do clinch it this weekend, which I don't know if you're hoping that or not, it's not going to be as a result of us actually playing on the pitch. It's going to be on Sunday, and as I saw someone saying online, you'll just get the wee thing at the bottom of the screen from Sky Sports saying Celtic are champions. We'll probably still have some sort of a party, but had we done the business yesterday against the bottom team in the Premiership, we'd have been looking forward to Saturday at Celtic Park, a chance to win the league at home for the first time in 7 years. And what an afternoon that would have been. As it is, Saturday just feels like another game. But anyway, Brendan Rodgers, he's spoken a lot about wanting to sprint over the finishing line, not just cross it. That was the quote that he gave last year. And we remember last season really fondly, even though the first half of the season was pretty awful. Almost feels like it's been flipped a little bit this season. And we had an amazing start to the season, but in 2025 it's been pretty poor. There's been some highlights. I mean, the performance in Munich, for example, and a few other domestic games. But generally, it's been a wee bit difficult. Okay, Brendan Rodgers, not happy after the game. As always, you can get all of these quotes, everything he said after the match on the Celtic Way. And I've linked that in the description. Definitely worth checking that out. Pretty strong criticism of the squad from the manager. I've picked out 3 quotes from him we can discuss. First one, poor start to the game, but not the first time. This is something for me that we will look at certainly in the summer. So he's clearly talking about signing some players in the summer to arrest this issue we have of starting games slowly. That's fair enough. I think as fans, we all want to see Celtic improving in the summer, even regardless of this. I was going to say slump. It's kind of more of a slump than we're having. It's been longer than a slump. Regardless, even if we hadn't had that, we'd want to see Celtic pushing on next season. The point I would make is that with virtually the same squad as we have now, at the start of the season, we were starting games really well. It was a thing we all spoke about right at the start of the campaign, the amount of early goals we were scoring. And it just seems like that is the total opposite now. So is it actually a result of the players we have, or is it like a kind of wider issue than that? Is it like the mentality of the overall squad? And Brendan Rodgers was very keen to bring up guys like Callum McGregor and James Forrest who set the standard, but clearly he feels a lot of the players are comfortable at the moment. And he didn't single out any players, it's not his style, but I think we all know who he's talking about. By the way, I guess one of the debates going on in the Celtic support at the moment, and it seems to always be the case when we get a bad result, and I see it in real time, you get a lot of people very unhappy, and then as time goes on, you get other people coming in and saying, look, the situation isn't as bad as a lot of you are making out. We're still on course to win the league. We're going to win the league. We're still in with a good chance of winning the treble. It's still going to be an amazing season. This is just a blip. Maybe it's a bit of a natural blip, and obviously the other people are more like, yeah, this is pretty awful and we've actually not had that much of a good season. And as always, the truth is somewhere in the middle. I do tend to feel, and it's just my personal opinion, that what we're seeing at the moment from Celtic is probably a result of the situation we find ourselves in. And I just want to make it so clear that I'm not giving the players an excuse at all. That can't be allowed to happen. I don't care what the situation is. You're being paid very well to play for Celtic. You've got thousands of fans following you every week, even more. 3/4 of the stadium yesterday supporting Celtic. It doesn't matter if you're 13 points clear, 40 points clear. You need to put in the performances every single week when you play for a club like Celtic, because even if you're 13 points clear and you lose a game like yesterday, you're going to get a hell of a reaction. But I do think, having said all that, that what we're seeing at the moment is a result of the players being in their comfort zone due to the position in the league, and potentially due to so much of our efforts this season being put into the Champions League as well. And I think maybe when the Champions League ended, the players then are kind of struggling to find that motivation again for the rest of the season. Again, that doesn't make it acceptable. But if the debate is, are the team struggling at the moment because of being so far clear in the league, or is it like a wider problem that could carry on to the start of next season, then I tend to feel, and again it's only my own opinion, I tend to feel that it's the former. I tend to feel that when we start next season and things are level again and we've got a league to really go and win and potentially a few new signings in there, I do think we'll see better from this Celtic team. But that doesn't make it all right what's happening at the moment. And Brendan Rodgers very clear in what he's saying. He's saying there's maybe a few that are comfortable, and comfort is not a physical place. When you're comfortable, you become a bit timid and you lose duels and you lose the fight. You can never be that, and you can never be that if you want to be a top player. So collectively, that's the annoyance. And he's right, it's so obvious that the players are pretty comfortable at the moment. They're in their comfort zone. But like, that's something we said after Ibrox at the start of January. And we felt that, okay, and to be honest, we said it before that. Like, there was a few games in the December-January period, even earlier, maybe November, that were poor, and you just felt, right, we're so far clear in the league, we'll just give the players a little bit of leeway here. And then Ibrox happened, and obviously the very nature of how bad that was, you then got a real reaction, and people felt and hoped that that would be a wake-up call for the team. And it wasn't. We then lose at Hibs, and again, some excuses are made. Just after Munich, we had the dodgy call at the end of the game that was the wrong decision, but people still realise the performance was poor that day. Hopefully this is a wake-up call. And then we have the Derby defeat again. Right, surely this is going to be the wake-up call. We go into international break, you're stewing over it for a couple of weeks. The players are going to come back firing. Okay, we beat Hearts 3-0 last week. Fairly good performance, I would say. Not a great start, but pretty good win. And then you get another setback like this. And we're looking at the game yesterday now and going, right, surely that's the wake-up call for this team. The manager coming out and being so critical of them. But I have no faith, to be honest, that yesterday is going to be a wake-up call for the rest of the season. I just don't get that impression. I get the impression that this squad have kind of feel like they've done the business for this season. And I don't know what that means for the rest of the season. We're still Celtic. We're still stronger than every other team. Certainly the other three teams that are left in the Scottish Cup, we are far stronger than should be. So we could still go and win the treble, even if we're not playing at our best. But you're really risking it when in reality this should be like, we should be talking about Celtic going full steam ahead like we were this time last year to go and win the treble and cap off such a memorable season. There's doubts for me now. There's doubts about playing St Johnstone at Hampden. Like, if we really struggle and don't play well and they have a day like yesterday, like, And that would be totally unforgivable if we don't win the treble this season. Just on that, or on the points made by Brendan Rodgers, Donald McLeod saying, we are either vibrant, quick on it, or we are absolutely dreadful. There's no grey area. Can't see an upturn in form this season, which is worrying. Never thought I'd be concerned about the semi-final, but also have no confidence we'll play like we can do. And we've got CJC saying, things have definitely gone stale. We are stumbling over the finish line. The hunger just doesn't seem to be there now. So Brendan Rodgers has identified that the players are in a comfort zone, and most of us could probably have told you that as well just from watching them. It's like it's one of the things about football. One of the things I love about sport is that, like, there's no hiding place. Like, you watch a game and you can tell certain things, and I think it's been abundantly clear from watching Celtic now for a good period, a good number of months, that the team they don't have the same drive and hunger that they did at the start of the season. Everything's just a lot slower, and yeah, they're in their comfort zone. And again, I remember speaking about being in a comfort zone months ago, so this isn't anything new, and that's why I think there's so much criticism. The criticism isn't necessarily just for yesterday's game. I think it's the fact that it's been a pretty long period now, 2 or 3 months, maybe even longer, where there have been very few top Celtic performances. I mean, what top Celtic performances have we actually seen over the past few months? Maybe Hibs in the Cup was pretty good. Obviously, Munich was a really good performance from the team that night, albeit a different performance. But how many really kind of struggling displays has there been? And I bet you're able to mention about 4 or 5 straight away. So how do we change this? I think the manager is partly responsible for the players being in this comfort zone, and my point here is that I think you've had a number of players struggling for form recently who continue to start games the following week. And you can all name your Celtic team, the Celtic team that starts games. Brendan Rodgers, top Celtic team, when everyone is fit, it's Schmeichel, Johnstone, Carter-Vickers, Trusty, Schlupp, McGregor, Engels, Hatate, Kuhn, Maida, Jota. Wow, that was impressive, but that's not the point. We all know that team. When everyone's fit, that's the team Brendan Rodgers goes for. Now, let me ask you, how many of those 11 players I mentioned are actually playing well at the moment? I'll tell you, it's Daizen Maida. He's the only one that's playing well at the moment. I know he was poor yesterday, but he's playing well at the moment. The other 10 aren't playing as well as they have been at an earlier point of the season. A lot of them are really struggling. Alistair Johnson is struggling. Cameron Carter-Vickers is struggling. Austin Trusty is struggling. Arnie Engels is struggling. Nicholas Kuhn is struggling. Yet these players continue to play the following week for whatever reason. And I think that's leading to just a complacency, basically. Players know that their position's not in threat. So I want to see changes made for next weekend. I think we have players there that could come in. So I would be bringing in... Well, sorry, before we do that, just a couple of comments that kind of set this up. Treble Yell saying, fair play to Yang and Forrest. They knew what needed to be done and had a good attitude. Agreed, both of them were good. And Treble Yell as well, actually saying the midfield isn't balanced, hasn't been all year. There is talent there, but something not right, maybe too similar. Yeah, I think we will see changes at the weekend, and I'd be looking at Anthony Ralston coming in for Alistair Johnson at right back. I'd get Paulo Bernardo in midfield, potentially for Arnie Engels. I'd have Luke McCowan in. I thought Luke McCowan looked good when he came on yesterday. I know he was poor in the derby. I'll get on and talk about him in a wee second. I would have Yang in for Kuhn. I think that's a change we certainly will see. Don't think the manager's particularly happy with Nicholas Kuhn at the moment. And potentially Scales, if he's back, or Naropski in for Trusty. And that, by the way, that doesn't suddenly mean that all of those players that I'm taking out are suddenly like just not up to it. But at the moment, they're struggling and they keep playing. And I think they need to be taken out of the team just to spend a little bit of time on the touchline and get their hunger back. Because I think a lot of them, Arnie Engels, Nicholas Kuhn, a few other players, have really lost their hunger for whatever reason. And we can't have that. Just on the point on Yang and Forrest, I thought both were great when they came on yesterday. James Forrest missed a big chance, which he clearly should have scored. But the difference he made from Jota and the difference from Yang coming on to Nicholas Kuhn earlier in the game was stark. I thought Luke McCowan made a difference as well. I know part of this may be that St Johnstone were tiring at that stage, but I think Luke McCowan's got something that no other midfielder has. He has an ability to get into tight spaces. Like, he's really nimble, Luke McCowan. And some of the areas he was finding later on in the game yesterday, and then sliding little passes in for either wingers or fullbacks, I thought was great. And we just don't get that at all. You know, Engels and Hatate are just a bit clunkier, good players, but so something like that, I think we've badly missed a bit of creativity. I just think that midfield, you don't get excited by that midfield. It's all just a bit slow, and yeah, there's some legs in there with Engels and McGregor, and Hatate gets into some good areas, but that midfield, yeah, it's not doing it at the moment. Right, on his own role, we've got Brendan Rodgers saying, I have to look at myself with it as well and really analyse, am I giving them that bit that's needed at this point? My intention always when I was here and come to the point is to sprint over the line, and I've done that before and I know what it looks like, but I don't like that side of it in this team, because for Celtic it's winning the best way you possibly can, not just chugging your way over the line. So we have no excuse. It's not about tiredness, it's not about the pitch. St Johnstone have done great, they deserve a huge amount of credit. My concern is for Celtic and for the ambition of the team and the mentality and the progress of the team. Just go through a few other comments before I go. We've got James saying, this team is not good enough to think they can just turn up and win. Trusty dodgy, AJ form dip, Engels just can't see it. Hatate time to move on. Ida needs to up his game. Kuhn, WTF, big close season, need at least 4 or 5 players to start better than what we have. Yeah, there's just a lot of players struggling at the moment. And I don't think all of these players are bad players. I think when you've got a few struggling, okay, there might be issues there, but when like everyone is struggling at the moment, virtually everyone apart from Dies and Maida, I think there's a kind of more widespread issue at the club, and clearly complacency, being too comfortable, whatever. Just on a different kind of note, because I think it's always worth saying that just because I'm not particularly happy with Celtic, and I don't know if it's come across in this video, but I'm not particularly angry. Like I wasn't angry after the game. I'm not gutted either. I'm just a little bit kind of struggling at the moment with watching Celtic, and I just don't think we're a good watch. But not everyone feels maybe as strongly as me, or certainly Stevie yesterday. A fair amount of you commenting saying, you know, the situation isn't as bad as a lot of you think, and absolutely fine. Frago saying, yeah, the intensity wasn't there today and a few players were pretty bad. Maybe complacency had crept in with it being nice weather, top versus bottom, feeling in holiday mode, thinking all we have to do is turn up. But I don't think it's as disastrous as you are making out. We had 26 shots, 9 on target. Hatate hit the post. Kuhn should have had a tap in. Forrest should have had a tap in. Maida should have rounded the keeper. Their keeper Fisher made some great saves, especially from McCowan. On another day, we would have won that game 3 or 4-1 with the chances we created. Again, yes, we were far from our best, but I think some people are going a bit overboard. Yeah, there's always going to be a case of people going a little bit over the top. For me, the reality is we didn't win the game 3 or 4-1. Okay, we might have had the chances to do that, but you always expect Celtic to create some sort of chances against the bottom team in the league. But we lost the game, and I think earlier in the season when we drew that game at Tannadice, I think just before Christmas, there was a big reaction after that game. And I thought that was way over the top because the team had been really good up to that point. I think that was maybe the second game we dropped points in all season. And it was a 0-0 tough game away to Dundee United. And I kind of stood up for the team at that point. And even after Ibrox, I think as much as that was a gutting one, I was still pointing out, look, the record's been pretty good this season. But, like, there's so many games now. I think we've lost 6 games now in 2025 after losing 2 in the whole of 2024. Now I know Bayern Munich and Aston Villa were 2 of those defeats, but even away from that, we've lost to St Johnstone, we've lost to Rangers twice, we've lost to Hibs. We were 30 seconds away from losing to Dundee, scored a last minute penalty in that game. So clearly it's not been good enough at the moment, and I know you can make those points about things being fine and we're going for the title and all that stuff, but I can only call it as it's been in recent times. And we're on the cusp of the league title for our form in 2024. If we'd have had the form we have had in 2025 at the start of the season as well, we wouldn't be winning the league. So recent months, it's not been good enough. And I think the fear for me is I don't massively see it changing. I could be wrong. Maybe Brendan Rodgers makes 3 or 4 changes on Saturday. We get a big reaction and we go with that team for a few weeks. And then maybe it gets players like Engels and Kuhn and Alistair Johnstone hungry again and in form again, and really gets them their edge back. And we finish the season strongly. We win at Ibrox. We win the treble. And everyone's happy going into the summer. And we might look at this as being a bit of an overreaction. But without knowing all of that's going to happen, you have to call it as it is at the moment. And watching Celtic at the moment isn't fun. We don't have many incredible performances. The poor performances and the terrible performances like yesterday far outweigh the positive ones. So as much as we are 2 wins from the title, another 2 wins from the treble as well, it does feel to me like watching Celtic isn't fun at the moment, and Brendan Rodgers has got to work this out. He's got to do something to finish this season strongly and put us all in a good place ahead of next season. They can still do it. They can do all of these things that I've mentioned, the Derby, the Scottish Cup, the League, finish the season in style and have us all feeling good. But I'm not so sure we're going to see that. When is the reaction come? Because I'm yet to properly see it. Anyway, we're 2 wins for the title, everyone. So it could be worse. Enjoy your Monday, whatever day this is, and I'll chat to you tomorrow.